time I saw you. How did you get all the way up here to Colorado?
Well, it was an interesting trip, to say the least. A little rough, a little bumpy, but I'm sure enjoying Denver. This is a wonderful place with lots of great pilots up here.
This is a little show, but there's got a lot of people coming in and out of here.
It's remarkable the number of pilots that we've talked to over the last couple of days that are regular flyers up here all the time in the high altitudes, and it's a different kind of flying than we have down in Florida.
All right, about 2 more minutes.
Now, when we were in Florida, we really didn't get a lot of time. Dan and I were running around with our heads cut off trying to get everybody in.
I noticed that.
We're in Colorado now. We've got a little more time on our hands. And I'd like to go a little more in depth into your airplane. Now, this airplane is called what?
This is the Vision, and it was named basically for the fact that the visibility of this airplane is very, very, very good.
In the cabin, I mean, there's lots of glass. You can see the whole tail section when you're looking back.
Correct. The windows have been expanded in size along the top of the aircraft, and the doors have been all glassed, and we also have a reduced size panel that gives us visibility forward and downward, which we don't have in a standard airplane typically.
Now, we're looking at the front of the airplane now here. What kind of power are we supplying with this?
This has a Rotax 100 horsepower 912 engine in it. Of course, normally aspirated, the Rotax 912 ULS engine. It performs very well with this airplane.
What kind of performance would we get out of this airplane with this engine, say on a normal day in Tennessee?
Well, every airplane, of course, has its sweet spots, I believe anyway, and every airplane I've ever flown flies well. This airplane's envelope is between about 38 to 40 miles an hour up to about 120 miles an hour. The sweet spot, normally I cruise at about 110 miles an hour, and that seems to work very well.
What kind of RPM would you be running with that?
About 5,150 RPMs, 5,200 RPMs on the Rotax is quite normal for that engine. And at that RPM, we're generally running about 105 to 110 miles an hour.
Now, on a trip coming from Tennessee over to here, what kind of fuel capacity did you have? What kind of stops did you have to make?
Well, it's interesting. I'm just now figuring that up, of course, as I go back over the receipts and everything and the mileage. But I think I averaged about 5.2 gallons per hour coming up here on the Rotax. And so far, I think I put about, I came through Oklahoma, so I think I put about 14 hours on the airplane in this last little trip, which has been less than a week. And I believe that I was getting, of course, I fly by hours and fly by the seat of my pants when I want to get out of the airplane. So I flew about 3 hour, 3.5 hour, 4 hour legs, not more than 4 hours in the airplane. And that seemed to work pretty well.
One of the other things I noticed about this airplane, a lot of storage in behind those seats.
Yes, we designed this airplane as a comfort for the passenger inside the airplane. We wanted to have as much room and maximize the inside of the airplane as we could, and that included the baggage area. The baggage area, our specs on the baggage area, we say 50 pounds. You could probably put a little bit more in there if you had 2 passengers in the front. And again, that's just a weight and balance issue. But you could certainly load it up if you wanted to.
Now, control systems-wise, we have a steerable nose wheel on this airplane.
This airplane does have a steerable nose wheel, which is wonderful, particularly flight schools like it, and pilots like it. I came from a Cessna 150, so this airplane was a very easy transition for me, and the nose wheel steering is wonderful.
Now, you also have toe brakes to assist in turning and that type of thing?
Correct. The ready-to-fly airplane that we produce, and we just sort of give you the keys and registration and teach you to fly it a little bit, comes with standard with dual toe brakes on the airplane.
The engine compartment on this, it looks like there's a lot of room in there. So, you know, for example, you have 2 gull-wing doors in here. You can get easy access to inspect it and that type of thing.
Yes, this airplane is designed to look like a real airplane. So when we look like a real airplane, we have the cowling that's proportional to the airplane, I guess. Well, what that's allowed us to do is to have a tremendous amount of room in here. We can get to everything in here to check it for pre-flights, as well as oil changes and to check the oil and everything like that. And of course the airplane and the airframe, without any modifications to the cowling, we'll be able to take the new Rotax engine if they want to do that, if the pilot wants that, or it will take the Rotax 914.
And when you say new Rotax engine, you're referring to the I edition.
Correct. We're still looking at that. It's going to take some engineering, particularly for that engine to go into any airplane now. Primarily plumbing for the fuel system, but that's relatively minor situations. It's just a matter of dollars, like everything else these days.
Now, I also noticed you're using a different prop than I've seen most of the other manufacturers.
This prop was made in Italy, and we're still working with some prop manufacturers. Like all airplanes that are relatively new, I do believe there's some decisions to be made on the exact prop to fit the exact airframe. And so we're still looking at that. It appears right now that we're going to offer a prop selection of at least 3 different props, depending upon the performance level that the pilot wants to have in the aircraft.
Now, are those composite props, wood props, metal props?
Well, we've chosen to use the composite props, and Rotax works very well with those particular props, and it's just a difference in the design of the prop. Just like any other design of any other technical component of the airplane, they all have their advantages and they all have their limitations. So we're trying to work right now and give our customers a choice of what kind of performance they want out of their airplane.
Can we just have a look at the inside of this airplane? Because that really sells this airplane when you look at it.
Sure.
Smokes, you guys have really finished this off. You've got almost, well, it is a leather interior, just like a little sports car here.
Well, we try to give the pilot the best interior that we can possibly put in this airplane.
Is there like optional colors and that type of thing available?
Well, what we try to do is to match the interior with the pilot's choice. But right now, these are the standard interiors that we provide. And this is a custom interior in that everything in this airplane, the sides up here and everything else has been insulated as well as finished, of course, completely. Now the standard kits that we have and the standard production aircraft we have, this is of course an option because this interior is quite fancy, as you might well imagine. We have a padded dash here even. This is a padded dash. You don't normally see that in aircraft, but we wanted to provide the pilots a choice of really the interior that they wanted.
Now, why have you chosen the type of dash look that you've got?
Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. We were able to miniaturize, so to speak, the dash of the aircraft to give you forward and downward visibility. And that's going to become increasingly important as we look at this aircraft as for surveillance or for observation platform. And also, when we do put floats on this airplane, it's a tremendous advantage to the float pilots to be able to see downward into the front of those floats, just to avoid any obstacles in the water or other reasons.
Now, I notice you've got air vents on the sides as well.
Yes, these are air vents on each side of the panel. We fly behind a Dynon 1000. This particular aircraft has also 2 Garmin radios in it. We have 2 backup instruments here. This aircraft also has a rudder trim, which is very unique in the light plane business. I don't know of another light airplane that has rudder trim, but that really helps us on long cross countries. This aircraft also has, of course, collapsible sticks.
What do you mean by collapsible sticks?
Well, we normally keep the sticks in the airplane like this before we get in it, because then you can get in and just swing your legs in.
Oh, I see, for entrance then.
For entrance and exit. So when you get in and you're sitting, then you just bring the stick up, and then you can lock the stick into place, and you fly like that into place. This aircraft has automatic pilot on the stick, and of course, elevator trim. And then when you get out, you just fold the stick back down, swing your legs out, and off you go.
Now, I get that's a center-mounted throttle on it?
Yes, this is the throttle right here, and it's the throttle just is pushed forward for max throttle here. The ignition switch here. We've put a USB connector out here so we can upgrade the Garmin, the Dynon 1000 with just a USB connection on the outside.
Now, it looks like you've got handles there for getting in and out of the airplane?
Yes, these little handles here help the pilot adjust their seats. You can put your hand up there and help you get in and out or adjust the seats. The seats go back and forth If you look at this, they go back and forth 7¼ inch. So it'll take a pilot up to 6'6" or 6'7" very easily, or someone that's considerably shorter.
It looks like that cutout that you got at the front, and that would really allow someone with long legs or someone older, such as myself, to get in and out.
Well, as we get a little older, we get a little stiffer. This space in here is like 44 inches or so. Well enough for anyone just to get in and swing their legs in, particularly with the collapsible sticks, that they don't have to sort of try to get over something or bend or do a lot of contortions to get in the airplane.
Now, where do you carry the fuel in the airplane?
Fuel is in the wings, of course, and we have a total of 28 gallons in this airplane, 14-gallon tanks in each wing.
And how do we bring the fuel into the airplane then? Control system-wise, is there a switch or something accessible?
Yes, this airplane has gravity feed, as most high-wing airplanes do, but we also have a fuel pump here. So we put an extra pump in the airplane as a fuel pump, and then of course the Rotax also has a pump on the engine. So we have actually 3 ways that the fuel's getting in the engine, which is good. There are backups and redundants in some instances.
Now, we mentioned the steerable nose wheel and the toe brakes. They're really standing out here when you look at them.
Well, the toe brakes work very well, and of course the steerable nose wheel works very well together. It's just something that a lot of the general aviation pilots have gotten used to over the years. And again, it's just a small feature, it seems like to some, but it's a big feature to those pilots that have been used to toe brakes. This airplane has toe brakes. And the steerable nose wheel, you just push on the rudder pedals and the nose wheel turns. So it's very easy to park this airplane and get used to small tight places with it. You can get to the fuel pumps and not be embarrassed.
And me being a trainer, it's nice as an instructor to have access to toe brakes on your side as well.
Well, that's correct, and also these toe brakes have the master cylinders down here by the brakes themselves, so that you could always check that as part of your pre-flight. This aircraft has 2 latches on the doors. This particular latch here allows the person just to open the cockpit like this with a positive latch, but it also has a key to lock the airplane up. So it's a positive latch with a key. Also inside, it has another positive locking mechanism here. So you get a locking here and a locking here with a positive locking mechanism for the airplane.
Now the door is also bowed by the looks of it.
Yes, the doors here are bowed to give you that shoulder room, and also allows you to look from here, look straight down the airplane. You can actually see underneath this airplane from being inside. The aircraft wing is made out of aluminum, and this particular airplane has VGs on it, and those are optional for us, of course, and the pilot depending if they want those on there. We have found that the aircraft performs pretty well with the VGs on there, probably a little better than it would without it, but that's just a little bit hard to tell right now. The other thing the airplane has, of course, is fairings for all the struts. So we get not only aerodynamics out of this particular wing, but it also looks better and it cleans up a lot better as well. As we move out the wing, we have a tie down here, of course, and as we move out the wing, it's of course flat on the bottom side here, and we come out and we have LED lighting. These are nav and strobe lights out on the wing tips. One of the most unique features of the wing tip is the curved down surface. This process decreases the vortices that are generated on the wing, so it helps the drag of the airplane, less drag on the airplane. We also have a little turned up ridge here on the elevators as well, as the flaps, and that reduces drag as well on the wing as we go through here. The inspection ports are all right there on the wings. There's very few places on this airplane that you actually have to inspect. It's a very simple designed airplane with a few inspection ports on the top of the wing and one major one underneath the belly where all the controls, the ELT's located, and some of the electronics are located underneath the airplane and underneath that baggage compartment. So there's not a lot of things spread out on the airplane to look at. Our annuals cost somewhere between $200 and $225 to do an annual on this airplane with a regular A&P mechanic. The elevator is unique as well in that it has the same design on the tips as the wings, so that this reduces drag on the airplane. This airplane has a huge trim tab on the elevator itself, as well as very large elevators. A lot of authority. One of the unique features of the airplane also is it has rudder trim. And if you look very closely, this is the amount of rudder trim, about 1/8 of an inch, that I used coming up here. I haven't reset it. It's really, really nice. It just keeps one of your feet from pushing on the pedal a lot, reduces pilot fatigue quite a bit. So that's very unique, and we're really proud to be able to put an electronic controlled rudder trim on the airplane.
So how is the airplane coming out into the market?
We make the aircraft in two versions. We make it as a SLSA, which is a fully factory-built produced aircraft. And that aircraft is registered by us and turned over to the owner of the aircraft fully ready to go and fully ready to fly. And that's the SLSA version.
Okay, so that's basically a turnkey. Somebody comes in, they've ordered the airplane, you're going to just teach them how to fly or know that they know how to fly, hand them the keys and they're off.
Well, that's correct. In that the factory has done everything, including register the aircraft.
Okay, so then we offer it as an ELSA. Now, what's the difference then?
Correct. We offer this aircraft as an ELSA version, which means that we can provide the aircraft either painted or unpainted for you, for the pilot, of course, and then they would just have to put in the engine kit, the instruments, and the interior, but everything else would be done by us. That is not a 51% amateur-built kit. It actually is an ELSA, which is an exact duplicate of a SLSA aircraft, or the factory-built kit. A little bit difficult to explain to some folks, but ELSA is a duplicate of a SLSA.
Now, the only difference, though, is that you can't use an ELSA for flight training.
That's correct. The FAA is very specific on that, in that if it's a factory-built aircraft like this and has been fully tested by us, then the aircraft can be used in a rental program. It can also, the way I understand it, tow gliders, but that's up to the pilot, of course, but at least it qualifies under the FAA as a fully built, factory-built kit with those requirements and those
we have some pictures down here, or a picture down here. What is this of?
The other picture here shows an actual painted kit ready to be delivered to the customer. We have shown time after time that once we deliver the kit, it can be fully assembled in a matter of 2 days by 2 people. Now, of course, after that, you'd have to install the engine, the electronics, and the interior. And if you choose to get a painted kit from us, then the process is as short as 2 days to install all the components together for 2 men, and then put in the engine, the instruments, and the interior. People have told me that that would probably take about 6 to 8 weeks. So once they buy a kit from us, then they can be up and running in 2 to 3 months, realistically, or much shorter for an experienced pilot.
So if you want to get some more information or get in touch with us, what's the easiest way to do it?
The easiest way is to contact us via our webpage, and it'll also give you a lot of information on the webpage about the aircraft, including pricing and including pictures of both the Spirit as well as the Vision aircraft. The website is www.worldaircraftco.com. It's worldaircraftco for company.com. Or you can contact us in Paris, and we welcome visitors anytime to come visit with us at the factory and take a test flight.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.